This is fine. This is fine. This is a poor substitute for therapy, but an excellent substitute for other podcasts.
We're not like other podcasts.
Join us as we find the answers to the universe's biggest questions like, is butter a carb? Does crying burn calories? And what the fuck am I doing with my life? We're here to be your part-time therapist, astrologer, concierge doctor, and fairy godmother. Do you need someone to validate you today? Cool. Come on in. We're fine. This is fine.
Bonjour mes amis, welcome back to This is Fine. Bienvenue les auditeurs français, and hello to my English-speaking listeners. Don't worry, most of this episode will be in English. We have a special episode today, a Q&A, Reddit AMA style, with your questions for a Parisian man. My wonderful friend Étienne has volunteered himself to be in the hot seat today, and you guys did not hold back with these questions. They are a bit savage. I'm a little nervous for him, actually. Let's just dive right in. Allons-y, let's ask a French guy. All right, so bonjour Étienne, ça va?
Bonjour Dominique.
Welcome to...
Ça va et toi?
Oui, ça va, merci. Tout va bien chez toi?
Oui, tout va très bien.
Okay,
Ton français est vraiment très très bon.
Oh, c'est super sympa, merci. Mais notre amie Agathe a dit pour cet épisode, Étienne, il n'est pas comme les autres Français, il est beaucoup plus sympa.
Oh, that's so nice of her.
So for our English speakers, we have a mutual friend here. This first of all is Étienne, one of my dearest friends here in Paris. And we have a mutual friend named Agathe, and she has told us that although this episode is about asking a typical French man, a typical Parisian man, about his experience, getting your questions answered, he is much nicer than the average guy.
Maybe. I mean, Agathe and I, we have a special bond because we're the only two French people in the group.
Yeah, in our friend group, yeah.
We had a wedding a few weeks ago, and I think Agathe and I were the only French people at the wedding.
Were you really?
I think so. Who else?
Claire is French, but she's French-American.
French-American doesn't count.
That's so mean. Claire, I'm sorry if you heard that. So thank you for being here today. Obviously, our episode du jour is about the Frenchman's experience and also answering questions that people are dying to know about the inner workings of a Frenchman's mind. You so joyfully volunteered yourself. And when I say that, I mean you kind of threw yourself to the wolves in the Instagram comments.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of haters out there.
I don't think haters, but I think some people may have been burned whilst dating, or maybe they're just really looking to connect with a French man or just pick your brain about style. There's some fun questions in here, so hopefully this is a silly, goofy, and not
I'm excited to get my brain picked.
The brain picking.
And I think I have a good perspective because I used to live in the US.
Yes, okay, good background. Yeah, give some context.
Right now?
Yeah, go for it.
So my name is Étienne. I work in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born and raised in Paris, on the east side of Paris. So I grew up in the 12th and the 20th. And I moved to California by myself when I was 23. I stayed there for a year, which was the maximum amount that I could stay with my visa. Mm-hmm. Came back to France, continued my career. Then I had an opportunity, go work in New York. And I got the job and I moved to New York for 2 years. And that was like right before COVID. And so then I've been back to Paris for like 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could live anywhere else long term.
Yeah. This is really home.
We have a very good quality of life here. I don't know. It's for some people, maybe it's a cliche, but it's real. And when you've lived in California, for example, California is very beautiful. The weather is amazing. There's a lot of nature. You can go to the national parks. But life in California is very work, gym, and then eat food and
rinse, repeat.
watch something on TV. And then you get up early, you go to work, you go to the gym, and you don't like thrive. For me, I'm very social. I go out all the time. And there's so many things to do here in Paris. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it very much depends on your experience in California. And if you are in a place where you're a little more separated, you have to drive to get places, you have to drive to hang out with your friends.
Yeah, I had to drive everywhere. I wasn't in a cool neighborhood. Like I visited some friends that were in around Echo Park.
Uh-huh.
And it was very nice. It was like a little hipster.
It is very hipster.
I lived in Orange County.
Yeah.
So there was nothing around me.
Yeah, that's very suburban. I worked in Orange County for years. I was born in Orange County, lived in San Diego. I lived in LA. I lived in San Francisco, in different neighborhoods. And it really depends on the area you are in. But I would say the biggest difference I've noticed is the reduced amount of time I spend in a car here.
Oh, for sure.
It makes so much more room for connecting with other people. I love California. C'est comme mon pays. I will always feel so deeply connected to California, but I will say it is easier to be social here, I would say.
No, it's so funny because here, if you drive for an hour, you go somewhere. You go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you go to Orléans.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but
only a little bit.
Not, and for people, in California, it's like a commute.
Exactly. Yeah, I used to drive 62 miles to and from work. Like each way was 62 miles. It was over an hour, like hour and a half if there was traffic, sometimes even 2 hours each way in my commute. That was obviously like a poor choice of living too far from where I worked, but it happens to a lot of people. Anywho, so you enjoy the quality of life here in Paris.
Yes.
You've also experienced the quality of life in the US and you enjoyed your time in the US. So you have a little bit of a different experience and POV than a lot of Frenchmen, Parisian men. How would you differentiate for the listeners at home? How would you differentiate between the French experience versus the Parisian experience?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Paris is complex because at the same time it's very different than the rest of France.
It's like the New York. Basically.
Just like I was going to say that.
Oh, no
Just
way.
like New York is in the US. Like New York is New York. It's very different. Mm-hmm. If you live in, I don't know, Minnesota.
Yeah, very
like
different
New York
experience.
is like completely different. But at the same time, France is super centralized. Mm-hmm. Unlike the US, where each state has its own like culture, almost.
Yeah.
Or like groups of states.
It really does, yeah.
In Paris is like, people don't like that. People can criticize that, but Paris is the center of France, you know?
Yeah.
That's where all of our political elite is.
Yep.
That's where all the art and culture is. That's where everything is.
It's the capital.
And so it is its own experience. It's also like a big part of the French experience. Mm-hmm. I would say to people, to give them the advice to like go to other places in France. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of beautiful places in France. Stella just came back.
Stella wants snuggles.
But yeah, go to Corsica, go to Normandy, go to other cities, you know, Lyon, Bordeaux, Marseille. There's a lot of beautiful places in France. Paris is like the cultural center and the political center and like everything.
Yeah. So
it's like if you merged LA, New York, and Washington.
That's so true.
Into one city. Right. So that would be like the America city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
that
not
makes
everything.
Yeah, because like France is obviously much smaller geographically than the US,
also
right?
That, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really good point that it's merging all of those cities. Yeah, like LA, Chicago, DC, New York. Blend that all together in a little Vitamix and put that in the center. That would be like what Paris is to France.
And obviously people from Puerto Rico would say like, oh, that's not represent, or people from the Midwest, or like, but if you mix LA, New York, and
you get a little bit of everything, yeah. And obviously there are some places that are not really included in that, which I would say, you know, the culture in Côte d'Azur is like quite different, right? Like if you go to Nice or Aix or something, that's going to be quite different than the culture in Paris.
Honestly, like everywhere outside of Paris, the culture is going to be very different.
Yeah.
We used to have like regional dialects.
Yeah.
Like we used to be very different. I don't know how to compare, like, you've been to Italy, it's the same.
Yeah.
Italy, people from south of Italy and north of Italy, they are very,
totally different.
very
well,
different.
They didn't have a unified language until, what was it, like 1850? I can't remember the exact year.
So we had, in France, you mean?
No, sorry, that's Italy.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why, like, it's so recent that the standardized Italian language
same in France,
is what it
like,
is.
I think what happened, like, the story goes is that during World War I, they would make groups of soldiers all from the same village. Ah. And so when they would die all at the same time,
Oh,
They
so
had to go to the village and be like, all the men are dead.
Oh my gosh.
And so to balance the odds, they made mixed groups, but then people couldn't understand each other. Because if you put at the beginning of the 20th century, a guy from Brittany, a guy from Corsica, a guy from south of France, they all spoke different dialects.
Holy shit.
And that's when they started like enforcing more the French language.
Okay.
And so at the time in school, if you would speak a regional dialect, you would get beat up by your professor.
Oh my God.
I'm talking about 1920, you know?
Long ass time ago. It's not currently happening in French schools.
No, they're making a comeback. Like people are trying to teach Basque language, Corsican language,
that's really cool.
Brittany language. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
because otherwise they're going to disappear forever.
I'm like, is it going to pop up on Duolingo? Because I need to know.
There might be some regional language on Duolingo.
I'm so kidding, but I am on day 602 today on my Duolingo streak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, learning so much.
No, mine is dying. I don't know if you saw, like, they did something with the icon.
Oh, yeah, every single day is something different. So
the more you use it, it thrives, and then if you don't use it...
Like yesterday, I almost missed my streak day, and it was like a picture of the Duolingo owl burning down my house. I'm not kidding. I'm going to have to put that in the show notes.
I love their marketing.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay, before I get into the questions, the point I was trying to get to is, how do you think that affects you giving this interview versus a guy from Orléans or a guy from Bordeaux giving this interview?
Oh, I think I'm very keen to the cultural differences. Okay. So I can answer with that perspective.
Okay, cool.
So even if I'm not a typical French guy, I can put myself in the shoes of one.
Very nice. A nice turn of phrase in English as well.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to tell them how you learned English?
I was sorry.
Okay.
I was always into like English as a subject in school. You know, I was watching like TV shows and like listening to music and like trying to translate the words. Very early, I was watching all my shows in English. So at the time, like we're talking when I was in university, was the 2010s.
Nice. The tens.
So I was watching like House MD.
Comment dire ça en français? Les années 10?
Les années 10. But you would say 2010.
2010, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so you were watching, what were you saying? House MD. Oh, you Dr. House.
Dr. House, yeah. I was watching, what else? The shows that were on at the time, like How I Met Your Mother and like stuff like that.
Very
that's
nice.
how I learned.
That's amazing.
To be fair though, when I landed, doe-eyed French guy in California at the age of 23, people couldn't really understand me.
Oh.
Because I have a strong accent.
Yeah.
But imagine it was like even more strong.
Okay.
Like no effort.
Like, what are you saying?
Nothing. People were asking me to repeat like all the time.
Oh my goodness. Was that frustrating or did that encourage you?
No, that encouraged me.
Okay,
After a year, I was much better. And then New York was different because New York, I was speaking French most of the time.
Oh, right.
There's so many French people in New York.
It's so helpful.
I was working for a French company. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend was English speaking at the time.
You're like a reverse Emily in Paris. Étienne in America.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let's get into the listener questions. Enough of my questions. I'm just going to read them verbatim as I receive them. Are you okay with this? Do you consent?
Do you have the names?
I don't have the names. These are anonymous. All right, we're just going to get into it. The French men I dated do 50-50 on the first date. Why is it so normal in your culture? Sobbing face emoji.
I love these questions so much. It's a very big cultural difference. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of French girls that would get actually upset if you don't do 50-50.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that's why those people did it.
Yeah.
So me, I like the old-fashioned
take care
point
of the girl.
of view.
Yeah.
I don't mind, like I'm a pleaser. Like I don't mind paying, especially on the first date. I think you have to show your interest and you have to show that you're ready to almost like to make sacrifice. I don't know how to phrase it.
En français, c'est peut-être plus facile?
No. It's the idea, not the
language.
you have to show that the girl that you're interested.
And you're putting in the effort.
And so it's like giving her a little gift.
Okay.
You know? It's like buying flowers or like picking up the check.
Okay.
Then in the relationship, after you can like split or like make all kinds of arrangement. I think on the first date you have to pay.
Okay.
But to be fair, like a lot of people in Europe, like especially I'm thinking of Scandinavian countries like Sweden or like Germany, the girls there are like very, very feminist, and it's considered like old school, but like in a bad way. So like
pay for a girl.
To pay.
Yeah. I mean, I just said it out loud, like pay for a girl. Pay for dinner. Pay for...
In the Netherlands, I don't think that's very common.
Okay.
But in Latin countries, it's very common. So France is in between, but like, obviously, if you go to Italy or Spain, I would assume that the guy pays.
I was going to say like Lebanon, Saudi Arabia,
Arabic countries, don't even think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even the girls, it's like your friends. Try paying with an Arabic guy. He's always going to try like pretend to go to the bathroom and like sneak around and like give his card. Like,
that's so good. So in France, it's more so about like equality, you would say?
No, I'm saying like some people think like that, and then obviously some people are just cheap, and like there could be multiple reasons.
Okay, so there's no universal answer for the Frenchmen on this one.
No, because we are the crossroad of Latin culture and more like North culture. You know what I mean?
Cross section. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the next one, please answer for all of your brethren. Why do French guys love so hard at the beginning of a relationship? It's intense. And you're like a triple fire sign, so. Interesting.
I'm myself guilty of love bombing. I don't even do it consciously. It's just when you're excited, you know, in a new relationship and you want to see the person all the time and you're texting all the time. I don't know if it's specific to French people. Like if you date an Italian guy,
they do
probably it's going to be a love bomber.
Yes.
I think you have to keep your head cool, and like you can enjoy like the love bombing in a way.
Okay. Just ride the wave is what you're saying?
Yeah, but also like know that maybe it's not the love of your life, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So
like
it's more about, it's less love bombing and it's more excitement bombing.
Something like that.
Okay.
Or like you have to do it responsibly, or if you're on the receiving end,
right.
You can do it ironically.
Okay.
You never done that? You date someone and you're like love bombing, but ironically?
I don't know what that means.
You're like, oh my God, let's get married tomorrow.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Like kind of poking fun. I've done that. Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen you in like 24 hours. Where are you, you know?
But like the problem is when they take that seriously.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think anyone who's dated enough, anyone who's experienced with dating and doesn't have like deep-rooted issues is going to be fine. Yeah.
Well, okay. On that same note, and this isn't a listener question, but I think something that was interesting for me when I moved here is the concept of becoming boyfriend, girlfriend without having to have this big like sit down thing. You know this. I was thinking about that the other day, and I think I cracked it. Oh, okay. The best way to explain it. Okay. So for those who don't know at home, real quick, if you're dating in France, I'm talking like heterosexual dating. I can't speak for anything else. I don't have that experience. If you go on, I want to say like a couple of dates, that person is like, we are in a relationship now, right? Like that's my girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Something like that. Yeah. There's not like, I would say there's, in the US where you have like one less step. I think you go from like casual to dating to boyfriend, girlfriend. Okay. And like you merge some of those steps together and it becomes two. Okay. But I think the best way to explain it, I was thinking about it the other day, is in the US, you have a talk about are we exclusive? Define the relationship, the DTR. So that's one of the steps, right? Yeah. At one point, you have to sit down. Are we exclusive? If you're exclusive, then you're boyfriend, girlfriend. Right. In France, it's the opposite. You would need to have a talk if you're not exclusive. Ah, exclusivity is implied from the jump. If you see someone multiple times a week and you hold their hands and you having sex and blah blah blah, they will assume that you're not doing
The same thing with someone
multiple
else.
people.
Unless specified.
Okay.
So in France, you would have to specify that
This is casual, I'm open.
This is casual, like we're still dating, I'm seeing other people. You would have to say it.
Okay.
In the US, it's the opposite. You would have to say
it's implied casual
that you
serious.
want to be only with that person.
Okay.
So it's just reverse in that way, you know?
That's so interesting. And it doesn't mean, like, I think it's important to clarify this too. Like, if someone, like, let's say you're dating a French guy and he's like, you're my girlfriend, and you've only been on like a handful of dates, but like you're dating exclusively, it doesn't mean like you're my serious girlfriend, like we're going to get married. Like it could still be casual.
Yeah.
Okay. But
also, marriage is not very big in Paris. I'm 34 and I don't know anyone who's married.
Okay. That actually brings up another question. I'm going to jump ahead to that one. Let me find it in here. Okay.
But yeah, if a guy says you're his girlfriend, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that he's gonna
marry you,
meet, or even meet your parents. You know, it's.
So the question is verbatim: why do French men not like the idea of marriage and family?
We live in a postmodern society. I think if you date a guy from New York, I don't know who that person is from. Maybe they're from, because we don't know anything about those people. Maybe they're 16. Maybe they're from Texas. Like maybe they're from the Midwest. Like I think there's a lot of late bloomers in Paris. You know, and there's a lot of man children and women children.
It's kind of like New York too.
It's there's so much going on, so much to do, and I'm not against marriage. I want to get married eventually. I'm 34 and I'm single.
Yeah, but I feel like
when is
you're
that
so
going to
young.
happen?
Like,
yeah, we are young, but like our parents, they got married like way earlier.
In the 20s or like early 30s. Yeah,
early
that makes
30s.
Sense. Okay. So in terms of just in general, like the French man's perspective, it's just more of what you were saying, like postmodern society.
Yeah, it's the same if you go to Berlin or London. Honestly, I don't think it's a French thing. It is, though, a big city thing. Okay. So if you go outside of Paris, way more people are like settled down and
that's so true.
You know,
like in
my brother lives in the south of France. He has 3 kids.
Yeah, there you go.
Provence.
Okay, so the next question. I want to know the key to infiltrate a French friend group or make French friends.
Oh, that's a good one.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, everyone says how hard it is to make friends in Paris because all the friends groups are already established.
That's why there are only 2 of you in our friend group.
since high school. It is not a cliche. I think it's very true. Like French people are not as open as American people.
It doesn't mean they're not as kind. It's just a different way of being.
It's a different way of being. Like you see us like cold, but we see you like hypocritical. In the way that when you meet people in California at the bar, they're your best friend instantly, and then you never see them
There's
again.
There's less follow through, right? Where it's like it takes a longer time to get close to a French person, but once you're in there, like you're in there.
Exactly. Yeah. So in France, you have to go like pierce the suit of armor, but when you get in, you're friends for life. You know, and my friends are like brothers. It's funny. I made a friend in New York. So I met him 6 years ago. Oh. Still in my head is my new friend. You know, he's one of my new friends that I made.
What does that make me?
You're a new friend.
Fetus friend.
No, but I also know how it works in the US. And like, yeah, I remember when I was in California, I would meet people. I was like the French guy, you know?
Yeah.
So everyone was super excited to meet me and blah, blah, blah. And
someone different.
Yeah, and like I remember people were like, oh, we should do dinner sometime. And I was like, yeah, when? Next Wednesday?
Oh, and then they
were like, oh shit, you know? And,
oh, like for real.
Yeah, and so I think, and then one of my friends, he was laughing at me and he told me that's just something people say.
Interesting.
It's not like that they don't want to invite you to dinner. It's just like they're saying it.
Yeah, it's like a nicety.
Oh, we catch up next time, or like we should get a coffee, and then you don't really make plans, you know?
It's so funny. I'm like trying to think about my
nobody in France would do that.
Yeah.
Because if you, then it's like, okay, well, come Tuesday, bring a bottle of wine.
Yeah, like I already put it in my Google Calendar. Like, no, it makes so much sense. So in terms of any possible tips to infiltrate a French friend group?
I think slow and steady. I think it's the same advice to getting friends anywhere. It's do the things that you love doing and meet the people that also love doing these things.
Yeah.
And so it could be What could it be? Running
Like
clubs.
perfume.
There's no perfume clubs.
There are, I think.
There are. We should start one.
Actually, yeah. So Étienne is also really into fragrance as well. We have a lot of chats about this.
No, I was thinking about climbing, for example. That's a big one.
It's a big one here, especially, I would say.
Yeah, or like anything really. Yoga, like you meet people doing those things.
Art of any kind. Like we should really I really want to do a painting class. We can talk about this off mic, but I want to do some kind of like paint and sip something.
I want to do clay.
Yeah, like pottery. So does Jamie. Okay. Sorry for everyone listening. We're just making plans. We're going to meet more friends.
How did you meet your friends here? Because you're better suited to answer that question. You're an American that just moved to Paris and has like a super rich social life.
Thank you so much. I feel very grateful for that. And I think a lot of ways, some of it is like luck and some of it is, I think just, I don't know, authentic openness.
The internet.
The internet is a big one. But in terms of the people who I've like physically met here, you're talking about like the sort of extra, almost hypocritical openness of a lot of Americans. But I think like a counterpoint to that is like, if there is authentic openness, that tends to be something that fosters connection. Like when I say I'll get dinner with you, I really do mean it.
Yeah, if you're genuine, it's very refreshing.
So I have like, just me and my personal experience, a lot of, it's not fabricated extroversion, but it's more like, how do I put this? I like can go into extroverted mode, even though I think I'm actually quite introverted. So I have this mode because I moved so many times growing up.
Why did you move so many times growing up?
That is a whole other episode, Étienne.
Military parents?
No, but I've never lived in a place for more than 4 years ever in my whole life. Okay. So I was always the new kid and had to really adapt to meeting new people all of the time. Otherwise, I would be alone, right?
Yeah, it's like a social superpower.
Exactly. So it, as hard as it was, like I had to practice over and over and over again, unwittingly, like just meeting new people. And so it gave me a comfort with openness, maybe a little too much sometimes. But for example, my friend Mahua, who lives here, she's from Toulouse. I met her years ago when I was here on a trip, was at the Chanel store, and she works there, and we just connected, and she's like, "You are lovely. I just think you're such a nice person." So we became internet friends. And when I moved back, I was like, "Hey, I actually moved here. Like, do you want to get together and actually like get a cup of coffee, get dinner, whatever?"
That's awesome.
And so we've been friends ever since. So like I physically met her in person, but it was just from having a conversation. And actually that was over perfume, which is why that popped in my head. Also, Stella is a huge point of connection. And I would say if anyone listening and has this question is a dog person and is wanting to get a dog for more reason than just this, it has been a really wonderful way of meeting people, because even the coldest of French people I've met here are just so sweet when they see her.
Yeah. So be nice, be genuine, have a dog.
Yeah, I think that's the solution.
I think you need to network too, like try to talk to when you go to an event and like talk to people, friends of friends. Mm-hmm. Friends of friends are the best way to make friends.
Yeah, there's mutual connections.
Be very clear in your intentions too. Like obviously, if you're a girl, a lot of boys are not gonna. They're not gonna want to be your friends. But
what do you mean?
Well, you know.
Okay.
Some people don't believe in like male and female
platonic friendships.
Look
at us just proving them wrong. Being the best of friends. Okay, so there's a lot about dating. I want to switch it up a little bit just for the time being. What is your favorite thing about French culture?
My favorite thing about French culture? Probably the food.
Yeah.
And like the food and wine, like combined, like
it's one and the same. Yeah.
In France, we say art de la table. Mm-hmm. So table art. Mm-hmm. And it's everything that relates to cooking and eating and drinking.
The experience.
And, it's just so good,
It is so good. Do you have a favorite French dish?
Ooh, that's a great question. Not really.
Okay.
I like French food in general.
Mine's magret de canard.
Oh, magret de canard. Yeah, that's good.
It's like duck breast.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And, the scene in New York, for example, was phenomenal. I loved the food scene in New York. There's so many great like bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
But like France has like something, like a slowness maybe, like you can sit in a restaurant.
Much slower pace.
Yeah, it's super slow paced, have a nice meal, like everything is very nice, like...
Yeah, you savor the moment. And I think that's why, at least for Americans and people who have lived in the US, especially New York, like Paris, you get the benefits of being in a city, but it's a much slower paced city compared to something like New York. Obviously, people from other parts of France are like, you're crazy. Like, Paris is chaotic. It's so busy. Everyone's in a rush. But to us, it feels like a nice pace.
Yeah, after New York, Paris was like a little village.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And for people listening, if you live in the US and you think you don't like French food, you don't. Because French restaurants in the US kind of suck. No, like, they're not good.
Yeah.
I've never been to a French restaurant in the US that I like.
Really?
It was not good. I've been to great, like Thai, like Italian, Mexican, like Chinese. Like French, I was always disappointed.
Interesting.
So come and try it from the source.
Yeah.
You know, like people say like, the quantities are so small. And I'm like, did you go to like a bullshit fine dining, like with no Michelin star, like in LA? Like, nah.
No. The portions are normal size.
Come here, go to a bistro, have a steak frites. With a,
I love it.
Tartare or with a glass of Côte d'Iron and you'll be set.
Is that your favorite wine?
I like wine from Rhône.
Okay.
Maybe not Côte d'Iron.
Okay.
But if you go to... Côte d'Iron is like... there are good Côte d'Iron, but Côte d'Iron is like a cheap wine.
Okay.
If you go to the north of Rhône region, there is my favorite wines.
Okay.
So like Cornas.
I don't know that. This is so foreign to me. I don't know anything about wine. Yeah.
You have to try. We should go wine tasting.
Yeah, we should do that after this. The one that I know that I really like is Saint-Emilion.
Saint-Emilion is a Bordeaux, no?
I have no idea.
I
just know I like it.
I'm not super knowledgeable about wine. I just know what I like.
You know wines, you know teas, you know fragrances, like the things that out like spirits, mixology.
I'm just a snob. I have to be careful. I had this conversation with my friend the other day. We were talking about coffee, right? And so we have a friend, he has like a Chemex, how do you call that? Coffee
I just call it a Chemex, like a coffee maker.
And like he buys like his own like grains that are fermented. And like he made us a coffee that was so good. And then my best friend Gauthier, we're kind of the same when it comes to, food and wine and everything. And we were like, dude, we need to stop. Like, we can't like go into this rabbit hole. Like, coffee is one of the last thing that I can have like a bad cup of coffee and don't mind.
Yeah.
And like, I can be a snob about everything.
Coffee too. Oh my gosh.
Because I'm a wine snob. I'm a beer snob. I collect. Cocktail. Yeah, I like cocktail. I collect whiskey. Like, I'm in the finest things in life, know?
I love it. Did we say tea already? You have such a good tea collection.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I used to be very into tea. I don't drink tea that often now.
Okay.
I drink it at work.
All the Daman Frères.
I love Daman.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so French culture would be gastronomie, l'art de la table.
Gastronomie, yeah. Art de la table, the food, the wine, and all the philosophy that goes with it.
Okay.
Staying at the table, like from noon to like 5 p.m.
I love that.
Just talking and drinking. The Italians have the same though. Yeah. Like I'm not claiming
there's so much crossover between French and Italian culture.
Well, France is at the center of the world. I'm joking, but like France share a border with Spain, Italy, Germany, and so there's a little bit of Spain if you go to the southwest of France.
Right.
There's a little bit of Italy if you go to the southeast of France, etc., etc.
Yeah, I love it. Like, and then Germany, Strasbourg.
Yeah, if you go to the east, we have the Christmas markets, like Germany.
So beautiful.
I'm not saying like the other countries don't have this. If you go to the south of the US, it's a little bit Mexican. If you go to the north, it's a little bit Canadian. But like we have a variety, of cultures.
Okay, so similarly, on the note of culture and what makes France, what makes French culture, one of the questions was, what does chic look like to you?
Chic? I think chic is a black dress.
Okay.
With a trench coat.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right.
A very nice perfume.
Okay.
Yves Saint Laurent bag.
Love.
I'm thinking of a woman. Why
This
am
is
I thinking of
You're painting a very specific picture here.
Sylvie from Emily in Paris?
Okay, yes.
Is she?
I love that you've seen. Okay, can you please tell everyone that you've seen?
Oh yeah, it's the best show of all time.
You
I
Emily in
love
Paris.
Emily in Paris. I love it so much, and like I love it ironically, of
Yeah,
course,
exactly.
but also unironically.
But also, no, this is exactly it. And I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I love it. And someone asked me the other day, is it good? And I said, absolutely not, but I love it.
It's very bad.
it's so bad.
But you can't like keep your eyes away.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's also like living in Paris. Like if you watch in the US, like it's fun, but like if you watch and you're living in Paris,
Yeah, you're like, oh, I went
it's
there.
insane.
Yeah. All
No,
the
but
places
like
that
the
you go.
location
Yeah.
and like all the reference that they have, like they worked with people that know Paris very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's so funny. Like she goes to a gay club and it's like a very famous, funny gay club in the Marais. Like what's his name? The
Gregory?
British guy.
Oh, Lucien, what's his name? Alfie.
Alfie like hates French food and they go to like an American diner. So that's an American diner in the Fifth I used to go to. Like it's a famous
I don't
place.
think so that way. It's not Breakfast in America. What's it called?
It's Breakfast
Oh,
in
it is
America.
Breakfast in America.
The one in
Okay.
the Fifth, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that place.
And like, there's a lot of like little reference like this. Also, like, it was shot right next to where I had my first job, and I stayed in that job for 7 years.
oh, wow.
And so it's one street over. I know exactly where she lives, like where our apartment is.
Yeah.
And then the Gabriel's restaurant is actually on the same street.
Oh, right, because it's on the 5th. It's
Yeah.
by, what is it, Place de l'Estrapade?
Place de l'Estrapade, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I should do like a Emily in Paris tour. You know,
should.
I can take people to all the locations.
Wait, yeah. Okay, hit up Étienne. I'm going to leave all his socials in the episode
No, but that would be a
description.
fun like Airbnb experience, you know,
Wait,
like
yeah, I bet they do it.
$70 a pop.
Yeah. Take people to all the fun little locations to get photos.
Yeah. There used to be a big graffiti right in front of our building that said, Emily, go home.
Honestly, like, how is she getting her visa renewed? I don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, she's a marketing genius.
She's
So
a marketing genius.
talent visa, you know, it's like, oh yeah,
Talent based on her outfits alone.
the outfits.
What are your thoughts on her not speaking French?
French is very hard to learn. And if you work in an English speaking environment,
It's not forcing you.
it's okay.
And if your French boyfriend doesn't speak French to you and then gets mad that you don't speak French,
Every single girl that I've dated that was English speaking, I just spoke English with them.
oh, interesting.
So I'm that guy.
Why?
It's easier. I think you go to naturally you're gonna go to the maximum amount of communication that you can have.
For sure.
And I think my English
Is better than their French.
is better than most.
I mean, yeah, you're completely fluent,
Like-
so.
If I meet a girl that speaks French better than I speak English, we're gonna default to French.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll default to English.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a little awkward, you know, when you know that the person like cannot say everything that they want to say.
Yeah.
You know, you always feel like you're a little bit more stupid when you speak in another language because you can't like express everything.
Yeah, that's true. I've talked to people about this when, like, let's say you are dating in a second language, right? And you're not 100% fluent. You can't express 100%
It's
of your
very hard.
personality, 100% of your sense of,
Of course.
humor, 100% of your emotional state.
I don't even think it's possible if you're not
Yeah.
fluent.
It's
you know?
real. It's been a challenge. Every time I can make someone laugh in French, I feel like I won a gold medal.
But your French is very good.
Thank you. So,
But I want like maximum Dominique.
yeah,
I don't want like 80%
I know. I think
capability or like 90% capability.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now. Gotta keep Duolingoing it.
Yeah.
But for real, I think in terms of, coming back to, Emily living in Paris and not, putting herself in environments where she has to speak French, not taking her French class seriously, I think she's missing out on the culture. I mean, clearly she's not. She's living the time of her life.
She's like having sex with every French guy that she meets. I don't think she's missing out on anything, you know? She was dating a little chef.
The pinnacle of French culture.
She goes to all the parties thrown by like the best brands, you know? She's
Yeah,
fine.
she's
Like, don't
fine.
worry about
She
her.
doesn't need her language. Well, now she's getting into
She gained like 1 million followers in a week by posting selfies with a hashtag that says Paris.
I need to just follow that blueprint. Emily walked so we could run, apparently. And next up, Italian.
But I love the show. Why were we talking about Emily in Paris?
That's an excellent question. I was asking what chic looks like to you, and
Oh,
you said
Sylvie.
And that was like the fact that you know Sylvie.
Yeah. I said it as a joke. So like chic, I don't know. Chic is money, but not flashy. And I'm not thinking like old money, like in
US, yeah.
No, not the US. Old money, I think UK.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's real old money. Yeah.
Like because we don't have nobles I mean, we do, but like we killed most of them. So for me, it's like money, but like discreet. You know.
So if someone doesn't have money, how can they be chic?
You can be chic in your attitude by not being flashy, and I'm not a fashion icon, so I'm talking out of my ass. But it's like
it's what you appreciate, what you see.
A good example is people when they have a little money, they want to buy like a Louis Vuitton bag.
I'm like,
and it's not. You do? Oh yeah. So for me, it's not chic. It's a lot of logos. You know, it's like the print. They made it so that people would buy it and like it would like push the brand. You know, but if you buy like fancy stuff, it doesn't have any branding on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because,
understated, which I think is quite French in attitude.
And the biggest star in the world, they don't buy clothes. Like they would never wear clothes with a logo unless they're getting paid. You know what I mean? If you're Rihanna, for example.
Yeah, or the Kardashians.
You know, you're not going to wear something with a logo on it unless they pay. So have that mentality, even though you're not a Kardashian.
I'm not advertising for them for free.
Why would you advertise? Like, don't wear like a big like Nike or like a big like, you know what I mean?
No, I do.
It's the same for luxury, and it's the same for luxury.
Yeah.
So people think like luxury, you have to show. Like, don't show. People, they either know or they don't know. Okay. If you have an Hermes bag, you're on a waiting list for years. Do you know the process? Like no, they interview you
intimately,
but it's good because they don't want like a random girl that's not ambitious in the metro to have a Hermes bag.
I hate
they
this,
want they want like a smart. No, but you could get one day because
I don't want one because of this actually. So it's interesting.
I think it's very good marketing and it's very good. They want those bags to be on the arms of specific people, smart, beautiful women.
Okay, so moving on a little bit, and I didn't put these in any particular order, so we're kind of bouncing around. Now we're back to food. What is your favorite restaurant in Paris?
Oh, it's hard because there's so many.
You don't have to pick just one. You can share a few that you like.
I love a restaurant called Blanca.
I have not been to Blanca.
It's Argentinian.
Of course it is.
Steak restaurant.
Perfect.
In the 11th.
Okay.
And people, I don't know if people know, there's a restaurant close to the Cirque d'Hiver called Biondi. Biondi is an Argentinian restaurant. It was started by a guy named Fernando, Australian, Argentinian chef.
Yeah.
And so Blanca was started by his sister. Her name is Violeta, and she's so nice. And so it's like a small-ish place, and they have very, very good food and very good atmosphere.
You said it's called Blanca?
Blanca, Blanca. Yeah.
Okay, Blanca. Beautiful.
So that's one.
Yeah.
There's so many restaurants that I love.
We love Obermama.
Yeah, well, that's a chain.
Yeah.
You know, that's never going to be in my top list.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
It's like Le Relais de l'Entrecôte, or like.
I'm trying to think of those places we've eaten together.
I like hole in the wall, mom and pop shop, you know.
Again, that feels very French.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We hate chains. Yeah. Like, that's not.
But also, you say you hate chains, but who's the number 2, if not number 1 consumer of McDonald's in the world? Fucking France.
Okay, so I think we differentiate. Okay. We don't have like chains that are in the middle.
It's either fast food or nothing.
We have McDonald's and like Burger King's, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But we don't have like the Chili's and the
TGI
Fridays or like Olive Garden, like
Applebee's. That's like
Applebee's. Where we don't have sit down chains. We have fat food chains, and we love them.
Like Paul.
But if you sit down, you go to a actual bistro, you know.
What about it's not a chain, but it's part of a restaurant group? Because that's what I see. Like Obermama is part of a restaurant group.
Yeah. It's not a chain. But you know what? It's like big and it's like very...
Yeah. I'm thinking like the Paris Société restaurants like Gigi, Giraffe, Bambini. Like they're all they're not a chain, but they're all part of a group.
I don't love them. I like family owned.
Yeah.
Or like at least pretend to be family owned, you know?
At least play the role. So do you have like a classic bistro or brasserie that you love?
There's one that I love. It's called L'Aubergeade.
Okay.
I think it's also in the 11th, Rue de Chaligny. They have amazing food. They do like lobster rolls, like homemade.
What?
They do omelette Norwegian. You know that dessert where it's like meringue on fire with ice cream in the bottom.
Like a baked Alaska?
Maybe you call it that.
We've Americanized it.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I had no idea.
That's a good one.
Okay.
And then I go blank, but there's so many good restaurants in Paris.
Yeah, it's really hard to have a bad meal here, I would say.
No, it's very easy to have a bad meal.
I have never had a bad meal here.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not picky.
Just lucky, I guess.
I'm picky.
That's true. I have very like golden retriever energy.
If people that listen, like they're from the US and like they're planning on visiting, don't go to any like touristic like bistro. The ones that are huge and have like ceilings like all over like a corner.
Big light up Eiffel Tower in the window.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, bouncing back to dating. The best way to meet a French guy.
Best way to meet a French guy? The club.
The club.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not the club.
Yeah, like where are the girls meeting you?
No, but same advice for people asking about friendship. Okay. It's like do what you love and find the people that are also doing that. So, you know, the running clubs is the new Tinder. So go. If you like running, go to a running club. Tinder.
Perfect.
No, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
If you like climbing, go to a climbing. If you want to meet French guys in general, it's not that hard.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm like, is it that hard? I don't know.
You're dating in Paris and you're a woman. All these questions are for you.
I know, but we want to know from your perspective. Okay, another one in the same vein. What do French guys think of American girls? Not to put you on the spot in front of one.
Depends on the French guy. I think the stereotype is maybe like more free, like freedom, you know?
Screaming bald eagle.
Freedom! More free, like carefree, you know?
Okay. Yeah, we're not as, we don't take ourselves as seriously.
Yeah, less stuck up than the average Parisian girl. And
I don't even mean that as, like, stuck up. I just mean like, it's not... Yeah, I guess like the carefree thing that you were saying, like there's a bit more levity. We're not trying to play it as cool.
Less snobbish, you know, maybe less intellectual. Oh, I'm not saying, I'm saying it's the stereotype. I'm not saying it's true. It's like
stereotype. Okay.
Also, like they're going to think you're from California. Probably they have this image.
Yeah.
You know, very beachy.
Yeah. It's California and New York usually.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, oh, you're from France.
No, but people don't realize how close New York is to Paris. Like, if you meet someone from New York, it's not a huge, like, cultural jump.
Cultural difference, yeah.
You know, it's people that take the subway every day to go to work and, like, go to the bar, like, blah, blah, blah. I think it's more of a big cultural difference with someone who's from Middle America, you know, for example.
Yeah, that's true. The further you live away from a big city, I think the bigger the cultural difference will be. So, in general... Carefree is the vibe that French guys think of American girls.
I think so.
I'm going to skip over the intellectual one because the heart can't handle it.
More sporty too. Like people don't work out as much here.
We're much more open about
more active.
Yeah,
you know, more.
Love Pilates. Not afraid to talk about it.
She's going to be into yoga. And then if you want to talk about my stereotypes, it's like astrology.
Did I influence this at all?
The thing with the stones, like gemology. I don't know how it's called.
The crystals?
Crystals. Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's the California part too.
Yeah. I also think it's bigger in the US.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, I'm not saying that every American girl loves astrology, and I'm not saying that no French girls love astrology.
Wait, they're from California, they're carefree, they like crystals and astrology and Pilates. I'm like, oh, that's me.
But you're always ahead. Like in the US, you have to realize because you influence the world, you're ahead in terms of trends.
That's so true.
And so if astrology is big right now in France, it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah. Like I was noticing the same with exercise culture and how much it's changed here based on my time just visiting and now living here, and how I think it's getting a lot bigger now. And this is where the US was like 10 years ago. We were getting really, really into boutique fitness. Now the girlies are going to Dynamo and Reformation and all the little boutique studios that are...
Yeah, I was doing CrossFit when I moved to California. And when I came back to France, I saw it like become bigger and bigger in France.
That's so cool. So back to the French men. What, in your opinion, this is verbatim, what, in your opinion, is the most common French guy red flag?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. So a big red flag is if a guy don't want you to meet his friends.
Ooh.
And that's a red flag everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But it's especially a red flag, I think, in France, where people share a lot, they go out a lot, they go to restaurants, they go to bars, they go to parties.
It's very social.
It's very suspicious in Paris. If you're dating someone and after a while, they don't want you to meet their friends.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think that indicates?
That they're not super serious about the relationship.
Okay.
Or even worse, that they are like ashamed of you or something like that.
That's terrible.
Or that they have a girlfriend, then what are they gonna say to their friends?
Oh no. Okay.
You know?
So if a guy is not introducing you to his friends, not bringing you around his friends, dump him.
After a while, you know, or after there's been like occasions and it didn't happen.
Okay.
You know.
Next question. I think you're going to guess who this came from. Mutual friend of ours. Why do you all smoke?
Oh, I think that's actually a cliche. I don't think we smoke that much. And if you look at statistics, there's a lot of countries that smoke more than we do.
It's crazy because I'm like, I have never met a smoker in my life until I moved.
Well, you're from California. California, no one smokes. It's crazy. I mean, they smoke weed.
Yeah, true.
But no one smokes cigarettes.
Yeah.
California is probably the states where they smoke the least, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
If you go to New York, people smoke almost as much as Paris.
Really?
Yeah, you see them outside of restaurants, outside of clubs,
I've
smoking.
been to New York a bunch. I didn't live there.
Maybe it's the French people in New York.
Yeah,
No?
I was gonna say, you're in a different circle. I don't think people really smoke a lot.
No, like statistically, it's not true. Like we don't smoke more. It's a cliche. It's a Pepe Le Pew, like a cigarette in the hand.
Do you know who asked
I don't
this
think
question?
it's real. Is it Amanda?
Yes.
Amanda hates cigarettes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like cigarettes. I like the smell of cigarettes. My grandma used to smoke cigarettes, and so I like the smell
so
of
it's
cigarettes.
Like nostalgic. I can't breathe around it. Literally, I have to move. Yeah, it's very...
No, for me specifically, it's the smell of like cold, like cigarette, like an ashtray. I like that smell.
Okay. You know, I have to like physically move away from people.
That's funny.
Yeah. I'm trying to be cool about it because I live here, obviously, but...
I never tried the perfume that are like cigarette scented.
Ooh, I have one in here.
I would never wear them, but I think that the concept is interesting.
I have a sample in here that I need you to smell, and it has like a little bit of like a cigarette smell to it. Yeah.
Have you ever tried État Libre d'Orange,
I know that's
jasmine and cigarettes?
I haven't.
Apparently, it's good because it's like tobacco. It's like tobacco and jasmine.
I love tobacco, like a tobacco leaf kind of smell.
Yeah.
I love Diptyque Narguilé, the candle. It's tobacco in there. I love tobacco honey from Guerlain.
Tobacco vanilla, Tom Ford.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love tobacco and fragrance, but cigarette smell is different to me.
Yeah.
Like that's...
No, it does.
It also, you know, like I have sensibilities with a migraine and everything. So I have to be away from it. Also, if I wash and blow out my hair and I take the time to do my hair and then I sit next to someone and it perfumes my hair with cigarette smell, it's the biggest pet peeve for me. Anywho, that was, a question based on some frustration with people saying, I don't smoke. And then the next picture on their profile being...
Oh, yeah. When it comes to dating, it's always a bad surprise when you realize that the person is a smoker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I don't think I could date someone who smoked a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like kiss a smoker.
I've been there. Yeah.
Nah.
It's not my fave. Okay, last one. Again, on dating, we got a lot of these. How can I get a French guy to love me?
How do you get a French guy to love you?
What's the secret to a French man's heart?
What's the secret to a man's heart? You know, like cook for him.
Okay. Clearly for you too. You love
then
food.
do stuff in the bedroom like that. I'm not gonna say like be nice, be like support him.
Okay.
Give him compliments. That men never get compliments.
No, we've talked about this actually on this podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting. Like people don't realize if you're a girl, you get compliments all the time, especially like with other girls. It's like a code.
Oh yeah.
Like you kind of have to.
Constantly hyping each other up. Yes.
Men, like that never happens to them. And so if you give a guy a compliment, he's gonna like ride that wave like forever. He's gonna think about it like 10 years later, like in his bed, he's gonna be like, tell a guy that he smells nice if he's wearing perfume. Tell a guy that you like his hair if he's got a haircut. Like, do it.
Small little compliments.
Yeah.
Way to your heart. Do you think that's more true for French men than men from other cultures?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I don't know if I have any specific like advice for French men. How to get a French guy to love you. I think men are the same everywhere,
Okay. Men are all same man, different font.
If you go to the basic things, like we all need love and affection, and feel supported, and
Love it.
Also, like you have to choose the right guy. Whoever you want, like to fall in love with you. Make sure that person like is emotionally available. Because someone who's not ready is just not going to love you,
That's a really good point. And I think it can be difficult for a lot of people, men and women, to determine whether someone is emotionally available, especially like as we were talking about earlier, someone might not be emotionally available, but they could be really intense at the beginning of a relationship. They could be love bombing you.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice on differentiating?
It's like always, it's communication. Like you have to communicate. You have to be very clear about your intentions. And you have to be very clear about your boundaries.
Do you think French men are better or worse at communication and boundaries?
Than American men? Way better.
Okay.
In general, like bad, but like I've heard like when I was living in, I think the bar is very low in the US. Like I don't know if the women are okay. Like
the bar is in the center of the earth in the magma.
I didn't have to do a lot to rise above when I was living in the US.
Threshold is quite low.
So no shade on American men. Like I'm sure like a lot of American men are great. I think the baseline is a guy that like is very quiet, doesn't express his emotion, super afraid of being perceived gay, super afraid of like showing his emotions and like dress badly.
Yeah. And that's not a thing for you guys.
What do you mean?
Like you're not afraid of being perceived in that way. You're not afraid of dressing nicely.
Some are, but I in proportions less. I think a lot less.
A lot of broad strokes here.
Like one of my friends in the US, her boyfriend, like she would come home from work, like with an issue, like something she wanted to talk about, and he would like sigh and be like, "Okay, you have 5 minutes. Go. Like, tell me about your day." Like it's
your scheduled program.
No, not a schedule, but like just in general, like not super into like talking about feelings and stuff.
Not a big open conversation about feelings. Like here's your allotted time.
Likes having fun, likes going out, like likes sports, like all kinds of things, but like maybe like not the best at communicating with your girlfriend.
Fair. Is there anything else that you want to dispel in terms of like stereotypes or preconceived notions about
French people? Most people shower every day.
Thank you. Yes.
The city is actually very beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like anti-Frenchness on social media.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of it's not a conspiracy theory. It's like a lot of intelligence agencies that were trying to like hurt France during the Olympics.
Oh.
So there was a lot of like Russian attacks and things like that.
Yeah.
And so
anti-France propaganda.
Paris is not like disgusting, and
it's one of the cleanest cities.
Paris is not like filled with like criminals and like stuff like that. I think that's a weird. French people are not mean,
Also true.
That's a big one. Like if you travel to Paris and you talk to people are not mean. You know what I mean? They're different because the culture is different. They're going to act different around you. Customer service is very bad because
It is very bad.
people are not going to be nice to you just because. But if you like spend like a week in Paris, go home and say like people were mean, for me it tells more about you than it tells about French people.
Yeah.
Because it's like everywhere. Here people are very proud and they don't care about their job or their career too much.
Yeah,
and so if you
which
go,
I like.
if you go anywhere, yeah, you were talking about that in your last podcast. If you go anywhere with like an attitude, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, like a superiority complex.
People are going to match your attitude. Like you have to understand the waiter in Paris at the cafe doesn't give a F. You know what I mean? He's not going to accommodate you in any special way if you don't ask nicely.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're a dick to him, he's going to give it back to you like 1,000 times.
And if you don't say bonjour, he's really going to be a dick to you.
And that's French people in general. And it's not just French people. Any place you go where people are very proud. I'm thinking about Eastern Europe, like some places in the Balkan. Italy probably is a little bit like that. Some places in South America, like Argentina, where people are very proud and they are very...
Part of their culture.
They have a very good sense of their self-worth, you know? And so you cannot abuse people in retail in France, you know?
It's true. And there are mean people everywhere. I always joke that the meanest person I met in France was a New Yorker.
There's mean people everywhere.
There are mean people everywhere. There are kind people everywhere.
I don't think French people are especially mean.
I don't either. Before I moved, every single visit, I met some of the kindest people I've ever met on my visits to Paris and other parts of France.
Well, it's because you have a dog.
Well, I didn't have her on my vacations. That was just 100% me. Étienne, this was so fun. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say to listeners before we sign off?
I'm single.
Yes, he is single.
Ready to mingle. If you like my voice and my attitude, you can send me a message.
And the accent. I signed off.
No, but for real though, I'm always looking to make new friends. I'm very social.
You are. You're one of my most social friends.
I do date a lot, but surprisingly, I make a lot of friends dating. I have so many friends that I started off on dates, you know, with apps or like in real life.
I love it. So I'm going to leave all your socials in the episode description so people can connect with you.
Yeah, be my friend and like I'll take you on the Emily in Paris tour.
Yes, love it. Étienne, thank you so much. Merci mille fois.
Merci Dominique.
Au revoir.
Thank you for tuning in today, my loves. Merci d'avoir écouté notre podcast aujourd'hui. J'espère que ça vous a plu. If you want to ask Étienne more questions, you can find him on Instagram. He has generously offered to be an ongoing AMA source for your Ask a French Guy questions from here on out. You can find his Instagram details in our show notes in the episode description. Let us know what you want to hear in our next episodes. You can email us your thoughts at imfine@thisisfinepodcast.com. If you loved today's episode, leave us a 5-star review on your own chosen platform. You could do it. It's so fun. If you didn't like today's episode, this podcast is called The Joe Rogan Experience. Feel free to tweet your feelings about it. If you really loved today's episode, check out our Patreon to support our podcast and keep this content rolling. Again, all of those links are in the episode description. I am sending you all so much love, big hugs, gros bisous. À bientôt. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of This Is Fine. I've been your host, Dominique Michelle Astorino. We're based in San Diego, recording in studio at DLI Productions in Pacific Beach with Emmy Award-winning sound designer Dan De La Isla. This is a comedy and advice podcast, but for legal reasons, this entire podcast is a joke and none of it is medical advice. To download the transcript or learn more, visit thisisfinepodcast.com.